Good afternoon, and welcome to episode 22, season 2 of Sipping Tea with Stacy T. I'm Stacy. Good afternoon. Hope you're doing well. Man, it's been another week. We've made it through another week. You're here with me. For those of you who don't know, live recording happens on Saturday, every Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard. So if you're seeing me right now at that time, then you are seeing me live. If not, I'm glad you're deciding to take a peek at me at a later time. Either way, I'm hoping that what you get from this is feeling like you got more knowledge or you're left with something that made you feel a little bit lighter, make you think a little bit more, made you have good conversation. That's my hope. That's my goal. Again, I am Stacy, and I'm glad that you're choosing to be with me today. So it is called Sipping Tea with Stacy T. So I have a topic and I have tea because you have to have tea in order for it to be Sipping Tea with Stacy T. Today's topic is weight. So we're going to talk a little bit about that because I feel like that topic in general can be a little bit challenging for people. I'm going to tell you that it's not always easy to wait, nor is it desirable to have to wait, but sometimes it's just what it is, right? It is what it is. So before we get into that topic, we're going to talk about today's tea. Today's tea is Grace Instant Ginger Tea. I've never had this. It does say you can just add water. It is pre-sweetened, so we'll see what that is. Has a little bit of sugar in it, cane sugar. So we'll see. We'll see what it does. If you're gonna have sugar, it's best to have cane sugar. It's the original stuff. All the other stuff, and there's arguments back and forth. Some people are like, "Oh, I use sweeteners like artificial sucralose and stevia and all the things." I can't actually use those because they give me headaches. So I don't. It's not worth it for me. It's not worth it for me, right? So I'm going to try that out. So this particular tea is interesting because it is kind of gives you like little pellets almost. So obviously, most times when you're having tea, it's like a tea bag, and you're just dipping it in and letting it steep and all that. Very different process. This is the actual bag that came out of it. I had to do it ahead of time because, again, you have to kind of put that in, then put the hot water and all the things. So that's what happened here. So this is what it looks like. I don't think I've had any tea from Grace Tea Company. I don't even honestly know if I heard about it before now. So let's give it a shot. I've put nothing in the cup whatsoever. It is just the tea. And I have to tell you, for those of you who are ginger beer drinkers, which by the way, ginger beer is non-alcoholic, okay? But for those of you who are ginger beer drinkers, it smells just like it. It smells literally just like it. So let's try it. Y'all, this is really good. I've literally put nothing in it. I put no extra sugar. I put no honey, no anything. I don't need to. And that for me is high praise, y'all. If you know me, your girl likes I like my sweets. Um that's really good. Really, really good. I would absolutely recommend it. Ginger has its own like really positive things for your body anyways. Upset stomach, digestion, yada yada. So this is something that I would absolutely recommend if you're new to the ginger game. What I will tell you is sometimes when you have ginger, it can be really jarring. Some people feel like ginger is an overpowering thing, so people don't always like it. If you're new to it, I would say that you should try this. It's not overpowering. It does give a nice ginger flavor. It's kind of like the debate between people who are like, I'm a Canada Dry person or I'm a Schweppes ginger ale person, right? Neither is wrong, but they do have a different, in my opinion, right? To my palate, I'm not a professional, but they do have a different amount to me of ginger. And I'm not going to tell you which one I prefer, but either way, if you had either one, I would drink both of them. All right, so let's get started. Let's talk about this topic, which, by the way, was brought to me by my lovely assistant, my mom. I actually spoke about this week when I was doing a TikTok. I did speak about this particular subject because I think that it's important. I think that it's important to, have these conversations about what it is to wait in your healing journey. So I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to be entirely honest, it's not fun, right? It's not fun. Anytime that you want to do something, anytime that you're waiting on something, anytime that you're wanting something to happen for you, and you either get no response or your response is you have to wait. It's, for me, not ideal. For me, not enjoyable. But the reality is, and as a grown adult, I've recognized there are many times in my life, many times over, that I've had to wait on a thing. People say wait on the Lord and be of good courage, right? So even you got to wait on God, right? You have to wait on God. And obviously waiting on God always pans out. But again, it still can be very challenging. It can still be very difficult, because, the waiting period in itself is not just like, it's not like you're just waiting and nothing happens during that waiting period, right? No, 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 no. When you're in the waiting period, you're sitting there, you're hopeful, you're trying to keep hope, you're trying to stay in a positive mindset. And meanwhile, in a zippy and unexpected twist, all hell may be breaking out around you, right? And so you're like, okay, God, it's you and me, Lord. We're just trying to make it to the, to see what the end going to be, that type of a deal. But in the midst of it, you have to sit, and you're sitting in a season of waiting. So that word, when I tell people or I talk to people about that word, having to wait, people typically, are not fans. I will tell you that people used to say, Stacey, you just have to wait until your season in God's due timing. Yo, when people used to say that, I used to really want to hit them. I'm not going to lie. I'm like, if one more person comes up in my face and says, you just have to wait on God, Stacey, just learn how to wait. And especially, and I'm going to be real honest, when people say wait on God, and they had, like, specifically, I'm going to use marriage as an example, right? Stacey, just wait on God. You ain't have to wait. You got married when you're 12. Y'all, I'm exaggerating. But the fact of the matter is, there's sometimes people that have never had to go through a season, never had to wait on God for that specific thing. And they act as if waiting on God for all things feels the same, and it doesn't. It does not, 100% does not. I'm not saying that your waiting and my waiting for specific separate things is not hard or challenging or overwhelming or sometimes feels very heavy. It does. But they're not, we don't need to have a comparison game. I feel like there's sometimes this reason where people feel like they need to, well, I waited on God for my thing. Good for you, ma'ams and sirs. This is not a competition. We're all trying to get to the end of the race. We're all trying to move forward. We're all trying to make God proud of us, right? But then there are the seasons that you're sitting in this moment, and you're sitting and you're trying to figure out, and you're wondering, God, is this mic still on? Because I've been calling you. Is the phone, did we get disconnected? Did somebody not pay their phone bill in heaven? Because I've been trying to call you on the main line and that sucker stays busy, or I keep getting a third party answer. I don't want to speak to Michael or Gabriel. I want to speak to you, right? There are those times that you sit in that space and you're just like, okay, all right, God, there's nothing else I can do but wait. There's nothing else I can do but wait. But what if, y'all, what if wait has an entirely separate meaning? What if it has an entirely separate meaning altogether? And thinking about it in this perspective, thinking about it from this perspective, change and shifts the way that you feel about waiting, right? So one of the things that you hear very often, one of the scriptures that people, whether they're religious folks, whether they have a relationship with God, or even sometimes if they just went to church a couple of times, they will talk about the devil being a roaring lion roaming around seeking whom he may devour, right? That's his job. And he does it well. He takes it seriously. I've spoken about that multiple times. What is the devil doing in that time? He is building a whole dossier in you. He's building a whole file. Who is Stacey? What does she like? What does she want? What does she feel she's in lack of? What are her areas of weakness? What are her areas of strength? Who is that she's connected to? Who is it that has hurt her? What has hurt her? What are her trauma points? A file, an extensive file of all the things, right? Because I'm his enemy, right? Because I'm his enemy, he wants to know all the things. He wants to know what I'm up to, who I'm hanging out with, what are the things that hurt me, what are the weak points that he can. Why? Because an enemy wants to know how they can infiltrate. That's the job. It's not just to look at the person from across the field and say, okay, I have my pew pew, you have your pew pew, and now we're going to aim it at each other. It's beyond that. It's about really having understanding. People will call it the acuity, right? That mental understanding of what it is that person is thinking, so I can figure out what their next potential move might be. For those of you who are chess players, I'm not, nobody ever taught me, but for those of you who are chess players, or even for those of you who play checkers like I do, you are trying to anticipate what is the next move that this person may make. Because if I can think ahead, if I can position myself ahead, then I'll be able to really, really arrange this board and really be able to get the most impact that I want, right? I'm going to be able to jump all over the board. If you just make that one wrong move, I'm ready to pounce. Well, that's the enemy. Making one wrong move, he's really willing to pounce, but he doesn't even have to do it. We talk about the lion, but sometimes we need to speak about the snake because he's looking for a crack. That's all he needs is a crack, or just a little bit of wiggle room to get in there, right? Either way, and it doesn't matter what animal you want to attach him to or what symbolism you want to connect him with. The job that he's doing is he's making sure that he has the intel on you, right? Because he has an army just like God has an army. Of course he has an army, because what else does he do but copy God, right? So he has all these little minions, we'll call them soldiers for him, right? That their job is to pay attention to all the things that you're doing all of the time. Good afternoon. And that's exactly what is happening. That's exactly what is done. So imagine now, let's think forward, right? Let's think forward. He's doing all of that. Let me ask what it is that we are doing on our end. Because what if wait does not mean just to wait, just to sit in a space of expectancy, right? Because that's, you're supposed to wait, you're supposed to sit in a space of hope, of expectance that God is going to show up for you, that he's going to do what it is that he's promised you, that he's going to make sure that you have favor, that he's going to make sure to move the needle forward when it feels like you're stuck, right? You know that those things are the case because you love him, you're called according to his purpose, and he got you, right? That's part of the whole plan, part of the whole bargain of being one of his children. But what if wait really means we are in training? Y'all, when she said that, that junk blew my mind. And it may have just been like an aside for her, but that thing saddened me hardcore. And I was like, my God, we are in training. And it made me think about exactly what I just talked about, the fact that the devil is in training and he stays in training. He never leaves training. Why? Because every single day, every single moment of every day, all he has to do besides try to torture people and ruin people's day is to pay attention to what it is that you're doing. Pay attention to areas where you show up. Let me just tell y'all for real, and I've said this week when I was on TikTok. The devil don't care if you have a knowledge of God. He doesn't care about that. You can know God. He knows who he is too. He knows God, knows him very well, was in his face, right? So knows God, knows God's word. He doesn't care if you go up in church and sing, come magnify. He don't care nothing about that. He'll sit there right with you. He'll play the tambourine. He doesn't care anything about that. What he doesn't want you to have is a fortified relationship. And he doesn't, and the reason for that is not so much about your relationship with God, but he doesn't want you to understand the power and the authority that you have, what your true identity is. Because once you understand that, then now he's like, oh, now I got a real battle on my hands, because now this person understands that the authority that I sought to have, which is what got me kicked out of heaven in the first place, this person has. So if I can make Stacy not believe in who she is, if I can make her believe that she is the head, not the head, but she is the tail, if I can make her believe that she's not above, but she's beneath, if I can make her believe in this current situation where the job is not there, that she's going to always be the borrower and never be the lender, then she's never going to walk in her authority. And that's the end game. That's end game. We think about him like literally taking our lives. He doesn't need to take our lives. He needs to distract us from what our job, what our intel needs to be. He needs to just distract us. He needs to keep us focused on him so much that we're not focused on God. The reality is we need to pay attention. Like, keep your peripheral vision going, right? Look to see where that sucker may be trying to sneak up on you. But at the end of the day, it says to look to the hills from what's coming your help. If you know that God is over the horizon, then you don't need to be paying attention. Oh, where is he? Where's he at? Where's he at? Where's he at? Because that's going to make you paranoid. Make sure your intel is is focused intel. Make sure that you are directing it on God. So when I thought about we are in training, it made me think, what is the spiritual fitness that we have? Because training is training. Training is conditioning, right? It's going through it's not just going through the motions. It's saying, I want to be stronger in this area. So if the area you're asking God to be stronger in is your wisdom, then he's going to bring you through a season of things that is going to test your trust in what he's implanting in your heart and in your spirit and in your mind. If you're saying to God, in this season, I need to have more patience. By the way, be careful. Be careful. I'm not saying that that's not a thing you need. But the only way to get patience is to go through some hell. right? To go through some trials, to go through some situations, right? So that's the way that it's solidified. It's not that he has to do those things to give it to you. He gives it to you, but he has to prove that it's there, right? Just like if you were in the army, they're going to tell you what it is. They're going to tell you how to be a sharpshooter, right? They're going to tell you what it is. You have to hold the weapon this way. You got to do this, and you have to have this grip, and this is how your vision has to be this. They're going to tell you what it is. But until you get in there and you start practicing, and then you start proving yourself to be that accurate, then you don't get, not everybody gets to be a marksman. Right? Not everybody gets that designation. Why? Because it's not everybody's thing. We are all different people. We're all different calling. We're all different purpose, but the united purpose is to bring people to God. So my question then goes back to, what is our spiritual fitness? In what ways are we making ourselves strong? And it's not just reading the Bible, and it's not just, having devotion, and it's not just fasting. Yes, all of those things are important, but what is your real relationship with God? What do you do when you just talk to him? When you're just sitting there and life is lifing and pressing down on you and the weight is weighting on your back? Are you recognizing, because you have done the things to instill the word and hide the word in your heart, that you know that, guess what, God, I know you're the heavy load sharer and the burden bearer. So I'm gonna need you to here you go. You can take this one, because I don't want to carry this one. Oh, my brother and sister in Christ needs some prayer. Okay, I got that one, Lord. That one I can handle. But wait a minute, they told me a lot, Lord. I'm gonna bring you that too. I was cool praying with them. I'm cool agreeing with them. And agree, but what they shared with me in this moment, that's a you thing, because I can't do nothing with that, right? I can't do anything in that. That is definitely you, God. And so as I sit in the space, and as I was just thinking about it, and again, when she said it kind of as an off thing, like, oh yeah, this is what I was thinking about, and we are in training. And I literally sat back and I saw, different branches of the military. I saw the Navy, and I saw the Marines, and I saw the Army, and I saw the Coast Guard. I saw all these different branches, right? And all of them have different unique things, and some of them have crossover, right? But at the end of the day, the training may be similar, but it's not the same. So what is your spiritual fitness? What are you doing to make sure that when the enemy comes in, right? When the enemy comes in like a flood, you know that God is going to hold up a standard. How do you know that? How do you know that? What is your spiritual fitness? Do you think that the God of, the God that parted, that allowed for the Red Seas to be parted, you think that he only existed back then in fable? No. The situation that is your Red Sea moment, where you need God to make a miracle shake real quick. You need him to part the situation. I'm going to need you to move to the left, and I'm going to need you to move to the right, so that Stacy can walk through on stable, firm, and not muddy ground. And then guess what? When you try to follow her, because she's mine, because when you try to follow her, when you think you're about to put your hand on her, I'm going to swallow you up. Right? Because that's the kind of God that we serve. But we only have that type of relationship when we've built some type of spiritual fitness. And unfortunately, we've done so much that is very churchy, right? We could be churchy. Praise the Lord. How you doing? Blessed and highly favored of the Lord. God is good all the time. And all the time, God is good. Yes, that's wonderful. Because guess what? Even in the military, they have repetitive statements, right? That they make. But do you understand the statement? When people join the military, this actual military in this country, right? And I'm sure many others, they don't learn just the steps. They don't learn just the conditioning and the running and all the things, right? They go through some hard stuff. They put these people in positions of, if you were captured, this is what you do. If you were gassed, this is what you do. This is how you make it through a situation that would take most people out, right? But they don't just learn, those things either. They learn the why. They learn their purpose, and they function in it. And they understand that if I don't do my thing, not only am I hurting me, but I'm hurting everybody in my squadron, everybody that's in my unit. And I'm not just hurting them, because who is the country that I stand behind? I'm potentially hurting my country. I'm leaving somebody susceptible. I'm leaving somebody vulnerable. So if you are not spiritually fit, how are you grabbing your brother and sister when they're tripping and they can't make it? If you have been in your relationship with God for a long time and a long season, and He is expecting a thing of you because He's already had the word hidden in you, He's already given you the foundation to move forward. He's already encamped around about you. He sat with you in those moments where you felt like nobody gave a crud about whether or not you were here or not. He sat with you. When people discounted you, He uplifted your head. When nothing made sense, when you had no money in the bank, He became the person that changed your credit, changed the rules, moved everything for you to have favor. Because He's that kind of God. He's that kind of captain, right? He's that kind of God. But the fact of the matter is, sometimes we sit in this, well, I'm just waiting on God. I've been waiting on God for a thing for a long time. And, you know, he ain't done none now. I don't know if He heard me. And I'm not even saying that you can't feel those things. Because let me tell y'all, I have felt those things hard. I felt those things really hard. I felt those things very, very real, profoundly. I'm like, my God, I don't know what else I can do in this season. I don't know what else. I don't know how else. I don't know what that I need to change. I've been there. And the truth is, we need to have those conversations. I'm tired of people just acting like everything is fine all of the time. I might say, yes, this day is hard, but I know God's got me. But I still said the day was hard. That's the truth. And the reason why I need to say that is because I'm going to literally say I can't handle it unto myself. But I know somebody who can. I have a relationship with somebody who can. People that don't trust the church is because the church says a whole bunch of junk, but they never relate to the human condition. I don't want you to talk to me about how God did the loaves and the fish. If I'm starving, feed me. I don't want the parable. I want to eat. But I'm going to just touch and agree with you. Touch and agree with your debit card hitting something at a place where they can get some food. Touch and agree with that. Because you showing up for that person may be now establishing a new member in God's army. Why? Because you showed compassion. You showed truth. You showed honesty. You showed love. You didn't show judgment. Because the reality of it is some of these people that will come around and talk about they claim in the name of the Lord would not do jack for anybody. That's not godly. Where tell me chapter and verse where that exists. God said, hold your pockets very tightly and keep them because you never want to give to another. That is not the word. Now, I'm not saying you need to just go out and throw your money, your coins into the street. I'm not saying that either. Discernment is something you can ask God for. Wisdom should be something you're asking God. Clarity should always be things you're asking God for. These are parts of your spiritual fitness. And again, it goes into that whole idea of conditioning. If you were going to the gym, and I use this as a thought the other day, if you're going to the gym, the intention is to get stronger. For some people, it's weight loss. For some people, it's just done for their mental health. The endorphins that are released when you're exercising, it keeps their mind balanced. And so there's lots of reasons why somebody may go to the gym. Some people might be just going to see people run around in tight clothes. Who knows, right? Everybody has their own reasoning. But the main reason that people will typically tell you they go to the gym is to stay strong. To stay strong. To keep their body functioning at the level that they want it to as long as possible, right? So it's conditioning. We are not conditioning our mind. And so every single thing the enemy does, it like takes us out. Poof. It's like, if you've ever seen lions fight, by the way, seeing lions fight is intense. I mean, they are nasty. And I'm not talking about like the Lion King. I'm talking about if you've ever watched a documentary and seen lions fight each other, it is aggressive. The paws, the strikes that they do, right? It is aggressive. So are you ready for those type of things? Because it says he's a roaring lion. He's roaming around. First of all, roaming around, getting his fitness in. He's getting his steps in like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. seeking. He's looking for you. If you are in a space that you are not covered by the blood, he can see you. Right? He can see you clearly. Our bishop told us to cover, he told us to go home, take the oil and anoint our homes, right? All the spaces outside. All the spaces outside where something can come in, right? So if it's windows that people can come in, but specifically he was talking about doors. So if you have a back door, a porch door, at any entrance, right? Cover those things. Why? Because it's literally what the Passover was taught. I'm going to pass over this house. This house is covered, right? To me, what that is really looking like is that God says, lion, pass on by this house. So when he's seeking, you can't seek this one because you can't see me. I'm camouflaged. I am spiritually camouflaged because God made it so. I cannot be attacked by you. Why? Because God has said that you can't see me, sucker. You can't see me, which means if you can't see me, you can't touch me. You can't touch anything that belongs to me. And unfortunately, the enemy has made us feel we're in a space where we might do a little workout. You know, we get on the elliptical and we do our little thing for a little bit, and then we're like, "Ooh, I'm tired. Let me sit down. Ooh, that was exhausting. I can't be doing all that, right?" And meanwhile, he's running marathons because he has a mission. He has a mission. And he has zero problem putting in hard work. If his mission means that he's going to have more people in hell with him for eternity, then he's going to do his big one. He's going to do his big one. He does not care. He does not care. And he has enough help to help him along the way. So again, if you expect to go to the gym and you know, you go there for one time, you work really hard. Man, I lifted a lot of weights today and I was on the treadmill and I also went on the elliptical and I rolled the recumbent bike and I even did a little Pilates in that little side classroom they have. I know I lost 5 pounds today. I know you're lying, because if that were the case, people would just go a couple of weeks and be good to go. There's other things you have to do to condition yourself, right? There's a very big push right now for people to feel like they don't have to really have a connection to an actual church building. And this is not a judgment. This is not a dig at any of the things, right? If you can't be in there, you can't be in there. That's entirely different, right? But there's a big push for people to be disconnected, right? And for all the reasons. Man, them people in there is fake. Them people in there, they do this, that, and the other. But let me tell y'all will go to your job every day with the fakest of fake people, and you go there every day and you're like, okay, let me go in. And then people say, well, Stacey, I'm getting paid. Well, Jesus paid it all. You still not going to church? He paid it all. You not going to church because somebody got on your nerve? There's somebody going to get on your nerve everywhere. And that's a part of the enemy's thing. Let me keep Stacey so distracted she can't stand no people. I can't stand them. I don't like the way that they looked at me. I don't like the way that they clap. They hollering too loud, praising the Lord. They need to shut up. Right? All the reasons. So-and-so did something to me back in 88. Ma'ams and sirs, it is 2026. 2026. If you are literally still not going to church because somebody hurt your feelings or somebody told you to get out of their seat in 88, you need to get your life. Get your life. Because what the enemy does come is to kill, steal, and destroy. He wants to kill your relationship, not just with God, but with God's people. Because in unity, there's strength. The word community, coming together, was intentional. In unity, there's strength. So what does he want you to do? Part of his plan, part of his intel is to make you sick of every single person. Because if I can get you alone, then guess what? You are more, I can pick off one person one by one. I could pick, you're a standing duck, you're a sitting duck. Oh, look at that person right there, all to themselves. They don't have anybody encouraging them when they're down. They don't have anybody telling them that they can make it when they feel like they can't. They don't have anybody saying, I see you, in a moment where you feel unseen. They don't have anybody telling you that God is still the lover of your soul, even though your soul has been broken or your heart has been broken. They don't have that. What they have is, see, these people don't ever call me. See, these people don't ever care about me. See, those people don't ever check about me. They don't care. They fake. That's intentional. And I'm not saying people shouldn't do better. That's not what I'm saying. But I want you to understand the strategy of the enemy. Because sometimes when you understand what the Joker is doing, then it gives you a little bit more understanding about why people are functioning the way that they are. It gives you a little bit of understanding of when you should tap into some grace. Because let me tell you, you ain't doing all the stuff you should be doing either. If we're going to keep it 100, right? I'm not doing all the things that I should be doing, and neither are you. But I'm telling you, you can point a finger at someone and tell them, oh, well, they didn't care, they don't call, and they ain't there. But what about you? What is your spiritual fitness? It comes back to you. Because at the end of the day, God is not going to be like, so Stacy, tell me about your mother and her relationship with me. He don't need my input. He sees her download just like he sees mine. And he's going to be like, so that time when you popped off your mouth at your mother, do you remember that the Bible says that, you should honor your mother and father all the days? You remember that one or no? But the beautiful thing about God is you can go to God and be like, yeah, God, I was acting a whole fool today. He's like, I know. I seen you. I seen you out there acting a whole dumb. And I tried to rein you in and I tried to give you direction, but you just didn't want to do it. You just didn't want to hear. But God, I was right in the way that they treated me. You were right. But the way that your spirit showed up was not right. What they said was mean. What they said was harmful. What they said was ignorant. But guess what? I gave you a mandate in spite of how they acted a whole fool. I told you to do a thing. I require a thing of you. And maybe you being able to tolerate their foolishness in a time. And again, go to God. I'm not talking about any specific thing, because if God told you to separate from a season from somebody, then do that, right? Because maybe he's separating you to download some information to you. So I'm not saying just sit there and let people talk to you crazy. I will never advocate for that, because God didn't say that either. You can actually absolutely call someone in. So I said in, not out. And say, what I'm hearing is this, or, how you're speaking to me, I don't like that. Can we not do that? Can we have a different type of conversation? And if the person says no, that's your boundary. Tell them you love them, but you need to let them do their thing until you can have a respectful conversation. Those are the ways that we can function. But what we do is, I'm done with that person. They want to act stank, let them act stank. They're going to be stank on their own. So, and again, the way that the enemy functions is to get you to be so wrapped up in that you're not looking to the hills. God is out on the hills. God is the sharpshooter on the hill. He will not take out anything for us. Anything for us. And he has beyond 2020. I don't know what that would be, but he has perfect vision. Because he can see past, present, future, all at the same time. He sees eternity, right? We see time. So we're seeing this little blip on the, on the scheme of life. In the scheme of creation, tiny, like boop, on that whole thing, the whole continuum of eternity. We're tiny. But he can see it all and he holds it all. But we have to have spiritual fitness to make it through. This season where the enemy is going to be attacking the mind, which attacks the body, because the mind does tell the body a lot of what it's experiencing. When you have pain, your mind is telling you that your body's in pain. It's a reaction because it sends up a message, right? It sends up a message. The fact remains that the mind needs to be the thing that has the most fitness. The mind. What are you putting in? What are you letting cycle in your mind consistently? What are the echoes that you allow to take over? Because if I'm getting a command from God, right? He's the captain. If he's giving me a command and I'm sitting over here remembering that I'm not enough, and he's trying to give me he's trying to reinforce the command, and I'm thinking I can't. And he's trying to give me another command, and I'm saying, well, people don't think that I'm smart enough, or people don't think that I'm this enough. And maybe that's the truth, because this hasn't happened and that hasn't happened. And, maybe this is the real and everything else. If you will let the enemy infiltrate your mind, because again, what is his title here? Prince of the power of the air. The things that you're hearing about yourself are not true because God told you the truth. He gave you the intel. He gave you the book, right? He talks to you. If you have a relationship, he talks to you. He told you what the truth is. But what you keep doing is closing the book and then going about your business. There are times that he literally will call to you to try to spend time and try to tell you, hey, this is where the enemy is going to come in this season. And instead, what do? We invite the enemy to our house. We give him our finest meal. You know, he likes spicy food, so we give him a spicy dish, and we give him our heated blanket, and we give him our cozy socks, and tell him to chill out and relax himself, and make himself at home. And then God tries to call, and we say, God's like, hey, Stacy, can I talk to you? You're like, God, don't be rude. I have company. Like, what you doing? Wait your turn. And what's the enemy doing the whole time? Just talking to you. Those people don't get you. Those people don't care about you. Those people don't love you. Those people are fake. Those people. And remember when that person said that about you? And remember when that person said that you were going to make an idiot out of yourself? And remember when that person said to you that you're going to be nothing. You're going to be nothing when you grew up, right? You're too stupid. You're too slow. You're too fat. You're too skinny. You're too black. You're too white. You're too whatever. Your accent is funny. People will never, ever believe anything that comes out of your mouth because you don't have authority. Who are you? Who are you? I'm who God says that I am. That's who I am. But unfortunately, we are so out of our depth that when God says soldiers stand in line, we're like, is he talking to me? Am I a soldier? Ma'ams and sirs, God already told you what equipment to put on, right? The helmet of salvation, the breastplate of righteousness, your feet shod with the gird of truth, or girded with the truth. How many of us decided what pieces we want to put on? This helmet is heavy, Lord. I know you saved me and all that, but do I have to have this helmet on? Because, man, it's making my hair, I don't like what it's doing to my hair. My head I sweat a lot, God. I sweat a lot. Can I just take this piece off? Because this is a lot. The helmets, if you remember how they were back in the day, they would come down here, right, at a point to cover your forehead. Because this is a tender area for people, right? It came down over your temples to protect your temples. And then it came over your ears. Why, pray tell, do you think that would be a good design? Because the devil wants to whisper. But guess what? If I have on my helmet of salvation, he can't get in there. I don't have it. Sorry, can't hear. I got my helmet on. Are you trying to talk to me? I see your mouth moving, but I can't hear anything you're saying. But we want to take that piece off. Don't get me on the breastplate. That thing is heavy. Righteousness, well, God, I get where you're coming from with this whole righteousness thing. I do get it. But, sometimes I just need to let people know what's what. Sometimes I need to function in a little judgment, God, because they shouldn't be acting that way. Man, if we could ever turn around the words that we would want to whip somebody else with to ourselves, my God. Because we can tell God why this person shouldn't be doing that and how they shouldn't be acting and why they're this and why they're that. Ma'ams and sirs, what you doing? How's your spiritual fitness? How is your spiritual fitness? How much working out are you doing? How much conditioning are you doing to make sure that when the enemy tries to infiltrate with a lie, it bounces off of you? Because guess what? I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't know what you're trying to talk about, but that's not the truth. That's not part of my game plan. But, thanks. Go about your business. But because we're not conditioning ourselves, all sorts of snake-like activity comes into the camp. All sorts of, issues of the lion coming around and we're like, oh yeah, there goes the lion. Come on in. How many people are inviting a lion into their house? You trying to get torn up? But we don't. We allow the conditioning that we've allowed. We've conditioned ourselves to believe that we don't deserve a thing. We've conditioned ourselves to believe we're not worthy of God's grace. We've conditioned ourselves to believe that we're not worthy of God's favor. But He told you are. So then what? Now what? He said you're my child. He said you're my chosen. He said you are given an inheritance by me. He said I prepare a table before you in the presence of your enemies. I do that. And the table that He's preparing before you is to tell you, hey, sit down here. Let me give you the blueprint of how this works. Let me tell you the game plan. Let me give you this inside intel so you can fight. And instead we're like, God, that's a lot of notes on that blueprint. Can you give me the abridged version? Because that looks long. How long are we going to be talking? You want me to talk to you every day? But the devil whispers to you all day long. If you'll let him. All day long. God wants to try to talk to you. When we're at 2 hours on a Sunday, we're like, oh, church is forever. And I'm not saying it needs to go back to back in the day because that was a lot, right? Sunday school at 8:30, going straight into church. Church went all the way sometimes till 3 o'clock. Then we had 6:30 service. That was a lot. I'm not saying it needs to go to all that, but I'm not saying it can't. The fact of the matter is if God says that you need to sit in this moment, we used to call it tarrying, right? If God says, I need for you to sit here right now so I can download how to save your life, you're going to tell him I'm busy? Or don't take all this? Or why are we doing so much? I need to get to brunch. And again, I'm not saying that you can't go to brunch. Go to brunch. But that needs to not be your first thing. Your first thing needs to be the download of what God needs to tell you to save your life that day. And you heard what I said, that day. How you go about trying to make it through this life and you don't think you're going to need to speak to the general every day, the captain every day, is beyond me. If you're actually in a military deployment, you don't have the ability to make your own choice. I'm going to just choose, you know what? I know I'm supposed to be on duty, but I just don't feel like it. I'm going to stay in my quarters today. That you don't have that ability. You go to your position. You hold your post. Why? Because again, the life that you live is not just for you. If you have kids, your life is for your children as well. If you don't have those, you still have to live a life for people in your community. The hell that you've been through, the pressure that has been on your back, the disappointment you've gone through, all of that was conditioning. All of it was conditioning. So when it says we are in training, yes, you are. You're in training. You're a soldier in the army of the Lord, or you're not. You want to get conditioned to survive, or you don't. Entirely up to you, because again, God will never force you to make a decision. He wants you to choose him. He wants you to choose eternity 100%, but he's not going to force you. Never will. So as I wrap up, the reality of it is training in itself is challenging. It's a lot of repetition. In training, sometimes you fall short. In training, sometimes you run and you hurt yourself, or you run and there's an obstacle that you just didn't see for whatever reason, or you're running but you're looking in the wrong direction, so you trip over that log. You know those people that are running in the movies every single time and they look over their shoulder and then bust their tail on the log and then roll down a hill? That can be you in your training if you're not keeping your eyes from whence cometh your help. If you're not keeping your eyes on the general, the captain, whatever you would like to call God, right? Because that is the highest title. But if you're in training, commit to the training. I'm not going to sit here and tell you it's always easy. There are days that I'm like, yeah, I'm not training today. I'm taking the day off, right? It's not realistic, but I've said those things. But the devil never takes a day off, because you are his mission. destroying you is his mission. It is his goal. Making you not believe that God called you is his goal. Making you believe that God did not appoint you to a thing is his goal. So if he can get you off mission, then that's the thing. He never has to make you believe God is not real. He knows God is real. So that's not his mission. His mission is to make you feel like God does not care about you, that God has not appointed you, that God has not chosen you, that God thinks of you as unworthy, that God is going to pull some type of an okey doke and all the sins that you committed that you gave to him already and that have been committed to the lake of fire, that he's somehow holding some type of a log that he's going to, at the end of the day, say, so I know that I did tell you that I put them in the lake of fire, not to be remembered, but I actually have some existing notes. That's not how God works. He's not a liar. He's not a liar. He's not a man that he should lie. So just make sure that you're thinking about that. What is it that you're doing to condition yourself to fight? As you're sitting here in this season of waiting, you're waiting with expectation, but you're also waiting in preparation. God can't give me a husband without me preparing for what that means mentally, right? About what that might look like. I have to understand that. I have to be able to sit in that space that I can look at what does it mean to what is the ministry of being a wife? Because it's a ministry that not everybody is called to. What does that look like? What do I have to do to prepare my heart for that? What do I have to do to prepare my mind to do that? And then God will equip. But he also doesn't want to give you a thing if he knows you're not prepared for it. Because nobody wants to sit in a space of crying out to God for things for a long time. He gives it to you and then you don't know how to function in it. That's not what he wants to do. So again, we are in training. I hope this was blessing to someone, even though I know it was you and I, girl, it was you and I, but I know that people are going to watch this later because it is a word that God has given me through my mom giving me the title, which I'm appreciative again that she gave me the title. And then God just expanded it. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for what he's doing in the season, even though I don't fully understand it. I sit in a season of preparing for what he will be doing. All right, y'all, have a blessed rest of your day. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and extend to yourself first. And then to me, a measure of grace. I'll see y'all later. Bye.